Most people think attraction begins with beauty, but the truth is, the most unforgettable people in the room are rarely the loudest, richest, or most perfect looking. They carry something deeper, a quiet energy, a presence that pulls people in without trying. And strangely enough, they often don't even realize how attractive they are, because real attraction is psychological before it's physical. It's in the way someone listens without rushing, the way they walk away from disrespect without drama, the calmness in their silence, the confidence in their restraint, the mystery in what they don't say. Maya Angelou once revealed a painful truth about human nature. People may forget your words, but they never forget how your presence made them feel. And that's exactly why some people become magnetic without chasing attention. In a world addicted to validation, filters, and performance, silent attractiveness has become rare, which makes it powerful. The habits you're about to discover are not surface-level tricks. They are subtle behaviors that reshape how people emotionally experience you. Some will instantly increase your charisma. Others may completely change the way you see yourself. And the most dangerous habit of all? Most attractive people do it unconsciously. The strange thing about attention is that the more desperate someone is for it, the less attractive they become. You can feel it instantly. The person who talks too much to impress everyone, the one who forces laughter, the one who constantly checks if they're being noticed. It creates pressure, and pressure pushes people away. But then someone else walks into the room, quiet, relaxed, unbothered, and suddenly everyone notices them. Why? Because emotional control is rare, and rare things naturally become valuable. One of the most silently attractive habits is learning how to stop chasing reactions from people. No over-explaining, no begging for approval, no performing for acceptance, just calm presence. Psychologically, humans are drawn toward emotional certainty. When someone remains composed under pressure, it signals inner stability. And stability feels powerful in a world full of emotional chaos. Maya Angelou understood this deeply. She knew that dignity has a sound, and that sound is silence. Think about the people you never forget. Usually they weren't the loudest. They didn't need to dominate the room. Their confidence felt effortless because it wasn't built on attention. It was built on self-respect. And here's the hidden truth most people never realize. The moment you stop needing validation, people begin validating you more. Because silent attractiveness begins where emotional desperation ends. But there's another habit even more powerful than silence. A habit that instantly changes the energy people feel around you without saying a single word. Some people become attractive the moment they stop trying to prove they matter. There's a certain kind of exhaustion hidden inside people who constantly seek validation. You can see it in the way they check their phone after posting something, the way they replay conversations in their head, the way one ignored message can ruin their entire mood. Because when your self-worth depends on other people's reactions, your peace is never really yours. But something changes when a person becomes comfortable with themselves. Their energy slows down. Their words become intentional. They stop forcing connections that feel one-sided. And strangely, why that quiet self-acceptance becomes magnetic. Psychology calls this emotional independence. When someone no longer needs constant reassurance, people subconsciously perceive them as more confident, more grounded, more valuable. Why? Because the human mind is drawn toward people who seem emotionally complete on their own. Maya Angelou once hinted at this truth through the way she carried herself. She didn't beg the world to recognize her worth. She embodied it. And that presence made people feel something deeper than attraction. It made them feel respect. The irony is painful. The more someone chases validation, the more invisible they become. But the moment they detach from needing approval, they suddenly stand out, not because they became louder, but because they stopped shrinking themselves to be accepted. And maybe that's why the most silently attractive people often spend a lot of time alone, not because nobody wants them, But because solitude taught them something most people never learn, there's a dangerous kind of power in people who no longer fear being alone. Loud confidence attracts attention, but calm energy attracts trust. And trust is far more powerful. Have you ever noticed how some people can walk into a chaotic room and somehow make everyone feel calmer without saying much? They don't dominate conversations. They don't fight to be heard. Yet people naturally lean toward them. Because emotional calmness is rare in a world addicted to noise. Most people carry invisible storms inside them: anxiety, comparison, the fear of not being enough. And without realizing it, they leak that tension into every interaction through rushed speech, nervous laughter, constant interruption, endless explaining. But silently attractive people do something differently. They pause before speaking. They listen fully. They don't react emotionally to every little thing. And psychologically, this creates safety. The human brain is constantly scanning energy. When someone feels grounded and emotionally regulated, others subconsciously associate them with stability, maturity, even leadership. That's why calm people often become unforgettable. Maya Angelou carried this kind of presence. Even in silence, there was weight behind her words because her energy never felt desperate. She understood that true charisma isn't loud performance. It's emotional control under pressure. And maybe that's why the calmest person in the room often becomes the most respected. Because staying calm when life becomes difficult sends a message without speaking: I know who I am. But here's the deeper truth nobody talks about. Some people aren't calm because life is easy for them. They're calm because they've suffered enough to understand something dangerous about human behavior. And once you understand it too, the way people see you begins to change completely. One of the most attractive things a person can do is leave. Not to manipulate, not to punish, but because they finally realize their peace is more valuable than being tolerated. Most people stay too long where they are disrespected. They stay in conversations that drain them, relationships that slowly destroy their confidence, rooms where they constantly have to prove their worth. Why? Because rejection terrifies the human mind. People would rather abandon themselves than risk being abandoned by others. But silently attractive people learn a different lesson. The moment respect disappears, they quietly detach. No dramatic speeches. No desperate chasing, no emotional explosions, just distance. And strangely, that ability to walk away creates immense psychological power. Because when someone tolerates disrespect, they unconsciously teach others how to treat them. But when someone calmly removes access to their energy, it signals self-worth at the deepest level. Maya Angelou once said, "Never make someone a priority when all you are to them is an option." That sentence carries a dangerous kind of wisdom. People are drawn toward those who value themselves enough to protect their emotional space, not because it's cold, but because boundaries create mystery, dignity, and respect. And the truth is, many people only recognize your value after they lose access to you. That's why walking away often changes the energy completely. Suddenly, the same person who ignored you becomes curious. The same people who overlooked you begin paying attention, not because you became different overnight, but because absence reveals value in ways presence never can. And there's one habit even more powerful than leaving disrespect behind. It's the ability to make people feel deeply understood without saying much at all. Most people listen just enough to reply, but silently, attractive people listen in a way that makes others feel seen, and that changes everything. Think about the last conversation that truly stayed with you. Not the funniest one, not the loudest one, the one where for a moment you felt understood. That feeling is rare, because most people enter conversations carrying one hidden obsession: themselves, their problems, their opinions, their need to be noticed. And while someone else is speaking, they're already preparing their next sentence instead of actually listening. But there's something deeply magnetic about a person who gives you their full attention. No phone checking, no interrupting, no trying to outshine your story, just presence. Psychologically, deep listening creates emotional safety. It tells the other person, you matter here. And the human brain becomes naturally attached to people who make it feel valued. That's why some people become unforgettable after only one conversation. Maya Angelou understood this emotional intelligence better than most. She knew people remember how you make them feel long after they forget what you said. And few things feel more powerful than being genuinely heard. Ironically, the people who speak less often carry the strongest presence. Because silence creates space, and space allows connection to breathe. Silently attractive people don't chase attention in conversations. They create impact through attention. And here's the hidden truth. When someone feels deeply understood by you, they begin emotionally attaching themselves to your presence without even realizing it. Because the rarest thing in today's world isn't beauty, it's feeling seen. And the next habit makes that emotional pull even more dangerous because it has nothing to do with words at all. There's something strangely powerful about people who are comfortable being misunderstood. They don't rush to explain themselves. They don't panic when everyone disagrees with them. And they don't waste energy trying to convince every person to like them. That quiet mystery makes them unforgettable. Most people reveal too much too quickly. Every emotion, every opinion, every insecurity. They constantly explain themselves because deep down, they fear losing approval. But silently attractive people understand something different. The less desperate you are to be understood by everyone, the more intriguing you become. Psychologically, mystery creates emotional tension. The human mind is naturally drawn toward what it cannot fully predict or completely figure out. That's why people often obsess more over those who reveal themselves slowly. Maya Angelou carried this energy effortlessly. She spoke with depth, but never with the need to prove herself. There was always something hidden beneath her calmness, something people wanted to understand, but couldn't fully reach. And that's what made her presence magnetic. Silently attractive people know when to speak and when to leave things unsaid. They don't overshare to gain sympathy. They don't explain every decision to avoid judgment. And because of that, their energy feels grounded, controlled, even powerful. The truth is, over-explaining often comes from fear. Fear of rejection, fear of misunderstanding, fear of not being accepted. But people who trust themselves don't feel the need to constantly defend who they are. And strangely, the moment someone stops trying to control how others perceive them, they become far more captivating. Because confidence has a silence to it. But there's one final habit that silently attractive people master better than almost anyone else. And once you understand it, you'll realize attraction was never really about appearance at all. The most dangerous kind of charisma begins the moment a person becomes comfortable alone, not lonely, not emotionally shut down, but deeply at peace with their own company. Because people who enjoy being alone move through the world differently. They don't cling. They don't beg to stay where they're unwanted. They don't tolerate disrespect just to avoid emptiness. And that energy feels incredibly rare. Most people are terrified of solitude. The silence forces them to face everything they spend their lives trying to escape. Insecurity, fear, emotional dependence, the need for constant distraction. So they stay busy, stay surrounded, stay connected to people who slowly drain them. But silently attractive people learn something transformative in solitude. Your value does not increase because more people choose you. And once someone truly understands that, their entire presence changes. Psychologically, independence creates attraction because it signals emotional strength. The human mind naturally respects people who are emotionally fulfilled without needing external validation to survive. That's why the calmest people often have the strongest presence. Maya Angelou carried this kind of self-possession. She understood that solitude was not weakness, it was refinement. Time alone sharpened her wisdom, her boundaries, her sense of self. And maybe that's why people with depth often spend long periods alone, not because nobody loves them, but because they refuse shallow connections that cost them their peace. There's something magnetic about a person who can sit alone with their thoughts and still feel whole, because when someone no longer fears losing people, they stop abandoning themselves to keep them. And that may be the hidden secret behind silent attractiveness. It was never really about beauty. It was about emotional peace, the kind so powerful, other people can feel it the moment you walk into a room. The truth is, silently attractive people rarely realize how powerful they are, because their power was never built on attention, it was built on presence. They learned how to stay calm in a loud world, how to protect their peace without becoming cold, how to walk away without bitterness, how to listen deeply, how to sit alone without feeling empty. And in doing so, they became unforgettable. Maya Angelou understood something most people spend their entire lives chasing without ever finding. Real charisma is not performance. It's emotional alignment. People can feel when someone is desperate for approval. They can feel insecurity hidden behind forced confidence. But they can also feel self-respect. They can feel inner peace. And nothing is more magnetic than a person who no longer needs to prove their worth to anyone. That kind of energy changes rooms, it changes relationships. Sometimes it changes lives. Maybe that's why the most attractive people are often the quietest ones in the room. Not because they have nothing to say, but because their presence speaks before they ever do. And after this video ends, one question may stay in your mind longer than expected. What if attraction was never about becoming someone else, but finally becoming completely comfortable with who you already are?